All right, folks, good afternoon and welcome to Bawo, the podcast where African women in the diaspora gather and reflect and rise together. Today, we are diving into an age-old question. What does it mean to be the ideal wife? You know? Well, you're going to enlighten us today. But we're not looking to social media, to aunties and uncles, okay, or culture, where we come from. We're going to dig deep into the words. Did you hear what I said? Into the
Word.
Bible. Okay, awesome. In this episode, with me steering this ship this afternoon, my sister, my co-host, the princess herself, Mrs. Yetunde, Princess Tade, Mrs. Yetunde.
With many names.
Yes. So we're going to reflect on the lives of some of our favorite women in the Bible. Women like
Ruth,
like Esther,
like Abigail,
and the Proverbs
31
women. So not just for those who they were to their husbands, but for how they stood in purpose, in character, in wisdom, and grace. This isn't about perfection. I'm not perfect. I'm a wife of 30-something years. So are you?
Yeah, 30-something years. Yes.
This isn't about perfection. We're nowhere near perfection. It's about perspective. So whether you're single, married, divorced, or somewhere in between, this one is for you. Let's rethink the ideal wife from the inside out. There, sister, over to you. Will you start also? What is your thoughts about this ginormous topic? This tall order of a topic.
Thank you so much.
The ideal wife.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity, I will say. And like we said in your introduction, it's about perspective. And I think sometimes everybody has their own knowledge, understanding of an ideal wife. Sometimes, like my sister said earlier on, we're not looking at culture, but sometimes you look at culture and maybe somebody was brought up by a mother who was doing some things. And so for that person, that's the kind of ideal wife they want. But I think if you look at it, each person has their own needs. So the ideal wife, I believe, should be a wife, as a Christian, should be a wife that works with God. I think that's very, very, it's pivotal to being an ideal wife. How does God want me to be a wife? What does God expect of me through the word? Through the women in the Bible that we have studied, we know about them, how they live their life, how they impacted the world, how they stayed loyal to God, how they remain faithful to God in their endeavors. So our description or prescription of an ideal wife should be from the Bible.
Yes. So today we want to take you on a journey with us. The ideal wife. Women of the Bible. So we're going to start. Let me put this title to you. Becoming her, the ideal wife, through the eyes of the scriptures. And myself and my sister, we're going to cherry pick our favorite women of the Bible. Maybe as you're listening to us, you might have your own favorite woman or women of the Bible. And we're going to synthesize the characters of these women and see what makes them to be who they are and why have we chosen them as our own favorite women in the Bible. And perhaps we resonate with them.
Yes.
Maybe we are biased to who they are. Like you were saying about you were raised by a woman who was managing her own home in certain manner, and that's a role model. That's the type of mother or the wife you want to be when you grow up. So let's look at the biblical example of women that we admire. And perhaps you can give us your own opinion and drop us a line about the woman you want to be like. So, Sister Yet, who is your first favorite woman of the Bible? Give it to us.
I'm torn between so many of them. But I'm just looking at about Ruth, and I'm looking at her loyalty and the way she actually positioned herself purposefully. She was loyal to Naomi. I mean, we can find this Ruth. I'm sure many of us know the Bible, and where we can find Ruth. But we're looking at the old chapter because the old chapter, talks about Ruth and about
the old book.
Sorry,
Ruth,
apologies. Yeah. The old book.
Chapters 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Yeah, so she was loyal to Naomi. We know the story. And then, she was married to this family and lost her husband. Naomi lost her 2 sons and her husband as well. And so this woman, Naomi, became let me say a lone woman, not a lonely woman, because I believe that she was not lonely, but she was alone.
Lost everything.
She lost everything.
Everyone.
Yes. So, but, this Ruth person and did not leave Naomi. She was humble. She stayed put. Even when Naomi said to her, Naomi was being selfless and was actually being considerate.
No, holding her back from going to go and live her life after all the husband is dead.
Yeah, because if it was her daughter, I'm sure she would say the same thing. So she has seen Ruth as her daughter.
Even then, her sister-in-law left.
Yes.
The other sister left.
Yeah. But Ruth determined to stay, and she was resolute, even when she was being begged, as in, to go. Please just go. But she was saying, no, I'm not going anywhere. And she didn't stop there. She actually was not lazy. She now began to think of how to provide for her mother-in-law. What kind of selflessness is that? That's really amazing.
And I think it's like what goes wrong comes wrong.
Yes.
She's kind.
Yes.
She's selfless.
Yes.
She's selfless.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
the good seeds were sown, and of course you can see the impact of good relationship. I would say it was a symbiotic. I would say it wasn't one person
not
one-sided, and which is really, really good in this woman. The relationship was amazing. You see, and this was a wife that remained loyal to the family even when the husband was no longer there. Wow.
That's some woman.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But when we look at our heart, roots, our hearts, our loyalty is the key factor in this woman. Why we like her.
Yes.
Why you like her and also like her. Yes. And that same loyalty positioned her for divine alignment.
Yes.
So she was in the place where she needed to be. She stayed put. In the place where God had put her. Yes. Even though there were challenges, she lost her husband. What else can be worse than that?
They were broke.
Yeah. Because she was only in that family because of the husband. Yes. And the husband is no longer there. Yes. But then, how do we as women have the divine discernment to stay, the staying power when things are tough. I mean, this is worse than tough.
Yeah,
our world was upside down.
Yes, upside down. And they had lost everything. As in lost everything.
But, she was rewarded.
Yeah.
She was rewarded.
Faith and trust in God. Faith and trust in God.
Yeah.
Very, very, very important. Even when things seem not to be working, and when we walk with God, there's that song that says we trust and obey. For there's no other way to be happy in Jesus
but to trust and obey.
And this was what Ruth was playing out here.
And she also actually obeyed.
Yes.
She followed wisdom of Naomi.
Yes. Everything she was being told to do. She didn't think, these days when we have young mothers, young wives that don't want to listen to anybody
any wisdom
because they think they know it all, But this woman This woman listened to this seemingly poor woman. This woman that looked poor, that's Naomi that looked poor, but she carried greatness within her. And she humbled herself to her mother-in-law. Instructions she was given, she was obeying everything that she was told to do. She didn't think she had it.
She knows it all.
She knew it all. So
she's young.
She's
glam.
Yeah,
she's beautiful. She's everything.
I can do what I like. I'm young now, so
it's my life.
It's my life. I've come back with you, but you know what? I'm here and I can sort myself out. No, she didn't do that. She was patient. She was listening, and she was obeying instructions.
So when we look at loyalty, which is the key thing, the major reason why we've picked Ruth in this discussion, can we dwell a little bit on loyalty here? What does loyalty look like in modern relationship and marriage?
Yes.
And I think that's where the big discussion lies,
Okay. Yeah.
Loyalty.
Yeah. So I think the first thing is to know what is loyalty on its own. And we know, if we get a dictionary out, we know that one of the definitions is that it's a strong feeling of support and allegiance. A strong feeling of support and allegiance. So it's strong. It's not just I'm supporting you.
It's not wishy-washy.
No, it's not when it's good. When the going is good, I'm supporting you.
Allegiance.
It's whether the going is good, whether the going is not good. I'm supporting you, and I'm committed. I'm devoted to you.
Unwavering.
Yes. So, what does it look like in modern relationships and marriage? I think.
Do you mentioned something there quickly, and it just struck me. The word allegiance is like when you are enlisted in the army.
That is
you
it.
pledge an allegiance. You dare not shift.
That is it. No shifting.
Your focus.
No shifting.
You are committed to the mission.
Yes.
And marriage is a powerful allegiance.
It is.
And I think that's what the oath, the people take, the couple takes the oath in front of everyone. You're pledging allegiance.
Yes.
And it reminds me of that song, I pledge allegiance to. Yes. I love that music. But we're not singing today, so. Yeah, so please, you were saying.
Yeah, so I think one of what it looks like, one of the things it looks like is that you are present. Things may change in the relationship. Things may change in the relationship.
So presence through change, you remain there despite the seasons of life.
That's what Ruth was doing here. That's what Ruth was doing here. Imagine, I always have the picture of that these people were wealthy, very, very wealthy. Just imagine somebody who has maybe houses
and
lands and
sons
and everything like that.
And lost it all.
And then one day like that, everything just gone. Perished. You know what? The person will just run away and say, you know what, I did not bargain for this.
I didn't sign for this. But the allegiance for better, for richer, for poorer.
Many times we forget our vows sometimes. We forget our vows. I tell women, I always say, you made a vow.
But maybe we don't take the vow seriously. It's just words of mouth. Nowadays, it owes nothing, basically.
I was, sorry, I'm going to just give an example. When I was in the training at work, and they just said, what is it? What means something to you? What is that thing that makes something to you? And I used my wedding ring. And I said to them, this is because anytime, even when things are not going well, I always remind myself that I made a vow. And that really told somebody, in that training, because I said, I made a vow. So even when the going is good, I vowed to stay.
And when it's not good,
it's a vow I made. So I still committed to that. That's loyalty. Is a powerful word. It's not something that should be taken flippantly. It's very, very important. So maybe we need to go back as women, go back and study.
And men as well.
And men.
Equally.
Yes.
So we are focusing on our discussion
that's why I'm saying wife. Yeah, that's what I'm saying for wife. But in case there's a man there listening to this, maybe with your wife, then I think you need to call your wife and then let's talk about this loyalty. Let's talk about this allegiance. Let's even go
Don't
to
fight about it.
Let's
talking. This is to make the relationship better, not to fight.
Okay. You can go and find your vows. Go and find your
renew
the vows. You don't have to
in the presence of each other.
Have some dinner,
give me your hand.
and then just,
I pledge allegiance.
And just Say it again.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think that would really help us. And we need this now because we are in the challenging times now. So we do
marriage now would come to a time in our lifetime when marriage is easily discarded.
Yes. Yeah.
When lifetime is shorter than the time to plan the marriage. So where is the lifetime in marriage anymore? Because when we take loyalty out of the equation, we have nothing remaining.
Yeah.
That means you don't have the other person's back.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
You're walking away when there is a shift.
Yes.
Or a growing or a pulling down or some kind, a sickness. Loyalty does not walk away when things become hard or difficult, or when someone becomes something else or new or change, whether it's career, health, sickness and health. Loyalty stays put. And I think that's an admirable character of an ideal wife.
Yes. Yes. Yes, it is.
Because if you are a wife today, what stops you from being a wife tomorrow? It's your character that can stop you from being a wife. So you're no longer a wife. Better for worse, the loyalty is gone and the relationship is gone.
Yes.
So now, somebody said this, and let me quote it, say, I may not understand everything you're going through, but I'm not leaving because it is hard. That loyalty speaking.
That is it.
And it made me, I remember that woman, I was listening on the radio, and this woman was trying to raise funds to keep going with life, alive. Obviously, she was married, and then she was diagnosed with cancer. And the husband said, oh, no, I cannot watch you die, just like that. And then I'm leaving you. In the middle of dealing with the cancer diagnosis. So he left. The guy was the breadwinner. He left with his breadwinning. So the woman was left to fend for herself, to deal with the cancer all on her own, and to find means of paying the rent and the bills, or to eat, and emotional support all on her own. So what's happening here? Why? I mean, what's life going to be for a woman faced with that? So I don't see loyalty from that action. It's the total opposite. If anything, that guy should stay put and go out of his way to support. Yeah. So presence through change, that's a big one. And I think that stresses the definition of loyalty.
Yes.
So should we look at something else? One more point in the what loyalty might mean in modern relationship and marriages today. Let's look at the last one or the last two.
Yeah, let's look at the last two.
Yeah. Showing up.
When it's uncomfortable, I think we should almost
we'll cover a little bit of that.
But I think sometimes this one even extends to maybe the person has messed up. Maybe the spouse has messed up. You're thinking, you know what? When we go out, I don't want to be identified with you.
To be seen with you.
Yeah, because you've really messed up, Do you understand now? And when people are messed up, I think that's the most difficult time of their lives. Especially if they were people that are held in high esteem in the society, and then they do something that is actually, untoward, that people are just disappointed. So they are lonely. That is when we need ourselves more. Need that person to stand with you.
Where else would they go?
Yeah.
Who's got their back?
So exactly. So now, if the person if the person is now left on their own, then there's no loyalty there.
There's no hope for them to change.
Yes.
And what you want...
just think, nobody really cares about me. It. And that's what sometimes sends some people into depression or mental health illness, because they just feel that nobody in the world cares. Yeah. Because if my spouse doesn't really care, then
Who
nobody
else
cares.
is
Who
going
else?
to care?
Yeah. So
someone used to say in our conferences, couples conferences, he used to say, your spouse should have home advantage in you. In Yoruba language, I'm going to say this in Yoruba, so if you don't speak Yoruba, my sister here, she's a linguist. She will know how to say it in English. Yoruba, we say, ẹlẹ́nu rírùn ló ní àmúyá ẹ̀.
all right, I can't.
Over to you.
Sorry, I can't.
Okay. And then Yoruba, we also say, Ebo, ẹni tó sọ òyìnbó nílé àná ló fẹnu ara ẹ̀ túmọ̀ ẹ̀.
So if you go to your in-laws house and you are speaking English, then you
will have to interpret it yourself in your in-laws house. So let's just say I'm in my in-laws house and I've spoken English. I have to interpret it now. What it means literally, jokes aside, is if you have a child that is not brushing their teeth and their mouth is stinking and smelling, that child can go to mommy's kitchen, dip their cup or their spoon in their mouth like this, lick it and put it back in mommy's tea. And mommy will still drink it because it's their child. Yes. They have own advantage. And that's what every spouse should have in their spouse. Yes. I mean, it might look like tall order, but it's easily done. Because we were saying before, marriage should be easy.
Yes.
What is the big deal? To be loved and to love, lovey-dovey, and all the PDAs. That should be nice and easy. But is it really?
Not all the time.
It's not. So we have to work at it. We have to be intentional.
Yes.
Make up our mind. Yes. Because we only do what we really want to do. As human beings, we have willpower to choose what we want to choose. So what am I choosing about my marriage? What are you choosing about my marriage or your marriage? Well, don't choose about my marriage.
It's yours.
Yeah, focus on yours. And maybe someone is listening. Then they should focus on this, not someone else's marriage. Because it's none of your business. And I think that's something else that perhaps we'll talk about another day.
Yes.
So today we are focusing on these amazing women who have left their giant footsteps, their shoes we cannot even fit into. But we can only aspire because we already like them. Why we like them is because of who they are and what they did, how they carry themselves and behave. So the last one here is saying shared vision and respect. Loyalty says we are not just married, we are building something together. It honors not just love. Marriage just doesn't honor love, but partnership and purpose. That's a really, really big one. Partnership, yes. Purpose, sometimes two people can have different purposes. Are we getting it wrong by not sharing purpose?
Yeah, sometimes. I'm just looking at this now. If there's any woman out there, maybe before you get married, I think it's very important or maybe any man out there, both ways.
Single.
Any single person out there, either you're single adult or single, wherever single, it's you just think about purpose before you go into marriage. Because it will be very unfortunate if you have a purpose or whatever it is that God has put in your heart and you marry a spouse that is not really interested,
doesn't align,
and they just want to have a wife or have a husband and just have children and just eat and go to work and eat. There's no fire in the bones. And so I think this is just out there. By the way, this is not it's just out there. Please marry someone that actually is going to honor the purpose. I mean, each other's purpose. And
talk about
it. It's very important. It's part of what should be the discussion before you go into marriage. But peradventure, we're already there, and maybe the purpose just evolved, or you just realized after marriage is just communication is key. To sit down and then talk about it
and support.
How can you support me?
Each other.
I need you to support me. That's actually I need you to support me, and then have a commitment to each other about how they're going to support you. Some may just be like, it's okay. I'll be cheering you on. And some may just be, do you need money? Or do you need people?
Yeah.
Should I link you up? So there are many ways of partnering and working in purpose in marriage, and that is very important, because then the loyalty is there. Because then if everybody leaves you like they left Jesus, there will still be your husband or your wife standing by you and say, don't worry, you're going to go through it.
You never walk alone.
Yes, you never walk alone.
Liverpool.
Yeah.
So one thing that you said that also is very striking, the partnership and the purpose. And in relation to the purpose, what you're saying, purpose can unite us or separate us in marriage. And if it's like, well, that's your thing, that's my thing, then where is the marriage? You bring two together, two different upbringing, two different backgrounds, two different dreams. You marry them together, you share those dreams. By supporting each other's purpose and dreams, you sharing it. And what came to my mind when you were speaking is about, when you see all these entrepreneur billionaires, they are investing in that business. They are not just in the soap making business. They are in the spa business, in the fitness industry, in the restaurant business. They're putting their money into anything that is a viable or looks laudable, investable business. So if you can invest in someone that you don't know, what about the person that you do know, that you share life with? Yes, that you share life with. Yes. So it's easy to match our purpose together if we are willing. Because if we don't, you're going that way, I'm going this way. You want to settle down and have babies? No, I'm not. Because if your purpose is doing something else at one point in your life and the other person doesn't remotely align, then you're working against each other.
Yes.
You're basically doing that.
House divided against itself.
That's it.
Yes.
So, purpose. We're talking about purpose just because of Ruth, because of our loyalty. So let's bring it back to this amazing woman that we have grown fond of.
Yes.
Yet we didn't see her, but we are feeling her footprints.
She's still alive in our minds.
Yeah, through the eyes of the scripture. So we are, and if you don't know, we're Christian women. That's our life. That's how we're raised. We love Jesus.
Yes, we do.
So whatever we're doing, whether we're chatting here, doing whatever God is putting in our hands, we're going to talk about Jesus. So we don't have any other manual other than the Bible. That's what we follow. So we move on to the next, shall we, ma'am?
Okay.
So I think we have another woman that we would love. Yeah. We might come back to the biggest of them all another time, because we got another one is Esther.
Yeah.
Isn't she?
Yes.
Courage.
Such an amazing woman.
Wow.
Yes. Such an amazing woman.
Mm.
And of course, we know the story is the book of Esther.
So what does Esther symbolize? Why do we like Esther? In 2 words.
In 2 words.
Maybe. Just to give people perspective.
You can say humility and courage.
Courage. And timing.
And timing, yes.
Timing.
Yes.
Timing.
Knowing your timing.
Timing is everything. Yeah. Okay, so let's dive into the book of Esther, you were saying.
Yes. So we know that we know the story of Esther and how she became the queen.
The queen of the land. Imagine if one queen is dethroned, so you could become queen. Wow.
Amazing.
What did you do to deserve it?
I didn't even expect it. You know, it's like, okay, just go and try it. Just go and try it out. Go and
a mere slave girl.
Yes.
Being crowned the queen of the land.
So
I would love to be the queen.
Yeah, with your crown. And just your crown.
Yes.
She was beautiful. Sometimes as women, beauty can make some people proud, and but that did not get into her head. Even when she was being prepared before she saw the king, everything she was told to use for preparation, she obeyed the instructions. She didn't think, well, I'm beautiful enough, so I'm okay. She didn't think that she listened to the person that was in charge. Everything she was told to use, she was using them. So you can see that's humility. I don't know how many people that go for beauty contests. I don't know how many of them actually listen to
instruction.
Yeah. And maybe that's
specific.
why maybe that's why some did not win.
Well, maybe they have harsh judges.
Never know, but we know that God's favor, and I think this is also important in our lives as ideal wives, or the ideal wife. We need to always ask God for favor. Because sometimes it's God's favor that brings us into a place of honor, which is what brought Esther here. It wasn't anything more than the fact that she had that inner strength, she had that submission to authority, she had that discernment, but also she was someone that listened to instructions, and she experienced the favor of God. So I pray that anyone listening out there that need God's favor, maybe you are very beautiful and then the door has not opened. May favor find you.
And amen. And beauty is in everything. No. The inner beauty, inner strength.
She had both.
Yes, she's a total package.
Oh, I love Esther.
Beautiful woman. There's something else that strikes me about Esther is that she didn't rush into action. Yeah. Sometimes we can rush into our blessing too soon. When it's not matured, you want to eat a sour fruit. It's not ripe. It's not going to be sweet. Wait. Timing is everything. Yes. Esther waited. She fasted. She prayed. She sought wisdom that helped her to move with divine timing.
I'm just laughing because when you said she waited, I'm just laughing. I'm just trying to think of women, especially African women. We're very reactive. So she didn't react. Imagine being told that somebody was planning to kill your race. We will let the person know that you are in trouble. They will have a piece of our mind.
The whole time we know that someone is in town.
She remained calm. She remained calm and sought God. And that's where we go back to that for us to be ideal wives. We can't do without God. We can't do without prayers. Having that relationship with God.
Relying on God.
Yes. And waiting. Waiting is difficult. Yeah, waiting is difficult. It's very, you just imagine go to the supermarket if you leave, or any shop, and then you are looking at the queue. I hope my hands up. Sometimes I'm looking at it, I'm thinking,
put the shopping bag and leave.
I can't be bothered to wait here. I'll buy it some other time. So
patience is a virtue.
It's a virtue.
But it's not your fault because we don't have time anymore. You only have 24 hours for goodness sake. Out of 24 hours.
Be on the queue forever. But seriously speaking, I think she learned to wait. She didn't rush into action. She didn't rush. Sometimes we take things into our hands instead of taking it to the Lord.
Putting it in the Lord's hands.
And also seeking wisdom.
Fight our battles.
Yes. And then we can't fight the battles alone. What did she do? She asked for prayers. Are you that wife, or am I that wife that got to a point I think, you know what, I don't need anybody to pray for me. I can do it myself. She was not like that. Just a queen asking her maidens to pray, to fast with her.
Okay. I want to be that.
Honestly.
Please give me a crown. Okay. So something is also so important that, like there's no other woman in the Bible as influential as Esther that changed an entire nation.
Yes. She delivered.
Wow.
Deliverance. Deliverance for a whole race. A whole race will have been wiped out.
So you don't have to be a wife to deliver. So we are bringing it back to the single woman.
Yes.
Yes.
Your
beauty, your inner strength.
Yes.
It's not only going to end in labor ward. Can deliver an entire nation.
Yes.
I mean, can have some babies too if you're a wife.
Yes.
But in the case of Esther, because the Bible didn't mention that she was married. So are we saying that women don't need men to complete us? We're complete.
we're complete in ourselves, but we also need, some
This is
people,
women empowerment coming through.
according to the Bible, we know that some people will choose not to marry.
Yes.
So it can be a choice not to marry.
Could be a design, God's plan.
Yeah, it could be God's plan.
Yes.
Things happen as well that some people don't get to marry, but they have children that even those who are married don't have those kind of children because they devote themselves to causes. Serving others through in different ways.
Purpose.
Yes. So that's where purpose comes in. But when the having our spouses is good because we know that two are better than one.
Yes.
And especially if we have purpose, we're working together, we're not working against one another.
Absolutely. So every woman should establish their purpose in life.
Yes.
Man or no man.
Very key.
Marriage or no marriage. Know your worth. Know your purpose. Start pursuing it before you meet any man.
Very, very important.
At the end of the day, fine if you do, fine if you don't. If that's God's design for your life.
Yes.
But please find your purpose, like Esther did, and deliver our entire nation.
Yes.
And the life of Esther, actually, that part we're talking about influence. She used her influence for a bigger purpose, especially in a male-dominated space.
Yes.
So today, as women, how do we use our influence for a bigger purpose? As wives, how can we use our influence, or just as women, in male-dominated spaces?
I think we've tried to touch on it, a little bit while we're speaking, and I think for me, it's having just being humble and working in wisdom, and also know how to strategize. Every woman should go and learn the art of strategy, because by that you win war without fighting. Because when we want to influence, we are actually almost looking for a win-win situation. Because we want to see a change. So if I want to see a change, I need to know how best. Who do I need to contact? How do I plan it? So planning, and taking action. Not sitting back and say, okay, I'm just going to sit back here and do nothing. She actually did something, but she did it in a very, very lovely way. Just imagine having just come for a party.
A woman can be sneaky. Beware. Do not underestimate the power of
I fear women.
If you don't fear women, then you must be paralyzed.
Yes. And also be calm. Male can be aggressive, and you don't want to fight aggression with aggression. So that's where you have to. We need to remain calm sometimes. I know sometimes we are very good with words. We speak more than men, I think. We are very expressive. So that is where we need to now apply that wisdom, so that we are influencing, but we are not being
quietly achieving
step by step,
inner strength.
Yes, taking one step at a time, gradually creeping, and then doing the right thing. That we know. The Bible says we should be wise as serpents. Why did Christ say that? It's for a purpose. The serpent is very cunning. But are gentle as those. Our gentility still needs to be there. She had inner strength. She had inner beauty as well. So combine them together.
And the discernment.
Yes.
Discernment. Knowing when to move.
Yeah.
When to speak. When to keep quiet.
Yeah.
When to win the battle on your knees.
Yes. That's what she did. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And get some mentor.
Yeah.
This woman, she had her uncle was a mentor.
Yeah, cousin. Yes.
Who had strategy, who was in the corridor of power, who was saying, well, do this, don't do that, do it this way.
He knew what to do.
But the man could not achieve what she achieved on his own. He needed the woman.
Yes.
Go back to the woman.
Because
so the power.
Even though he was there, he didn't have influence.
Yeah, the power and the influence of that woman. I mean, imagine when the woman surfaced, the king's head was turning.
Yes.
Her beauty, her
So
poise.
let's use our power. Let's use it for the right purpose. For the right purpose, for the good of all.
Yeah,
and for the glory of God.
Amen. Amen. I really enjoy that. I wish we could keep going and going about Esther. So should we touch one more and then we'll wrap it up for today?
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, a small one, a short one, and then.
That's fine.
So this woman is my favorite.
Yes.
I mean, well, I like them all. But if somebody wakes me up and say, who is your favorite woman of the Bible? I will choose Abigail. First, if you think Esther is beautiful, the Bible describes this Abigail as gazelle. If you look at the meaning of gazelle, an impala, an elegant bird, like a bird, an animal in the wild that is slender and is cute. It's got the forehead of a princess and the long neck of a swan and the complexion of stop or keep going. So Abigail, and guess what? As pretty, as elegant as this woman was, she married a fool. Her husband was stupid, unfortunately, but yet she preserved her own household with wisdom and grace. She covered this man. She protected him from the wrath of the king because the king wanted to slaughter the husband. But she used wisdom to protect her husband. She took initiative to avert disaster without dishonoring her husband publicly. That is to be admired. Because sometimes it can be difficult for us to restrain ourselves, to not want to take revenge on another human being. It doesn't matter who they are. If they've wronged you, if they haven't kept their promise or they haven't kept their allegiance to you and you just want to get your own back.
She was still loyal to the man, even though the man was a fool. She remained loyal, committed to him even to try to protect him.
Yeah.
Because she didn't want to be a widow.
Yeah. I mean, the king wanted to marry her. I mean, you're going to not trade the fool for the king. It's not. I think the loyalty is coming back again because you've made promise, you've pledged allegiance. And the example of the stinking mouth kid who go and spit in their mother's tea or dip it into their stinking mouth and put it back in the tea and the mother still drink it. It's the home advantage. Doesn't matter how bad this guy is. Abigail stood by him, protected and shielded him. Covered.
Covered his back, Yeah.
So that's a big challenge for us today. The ideal wife.
And she knew how to speak, to influence the man as well, Just how I was the Lord. I was the Lord made David stop and think, you know what? Okay, let's say she did. So how are we using our influence, as women? So let's think about that.
Yeah.
Are we seeking peace, or we are saying, he's always a foolish man anyway. So just do anything you want to do with him.
Yeah, that's not time. I don't care.
She didn't do that.
Yes. So our words soften the hearts of the king to save our stupid, foolish husband. Our influence brought peace to him. Even though he didn't deserve it, he didn't ask for it. He probably, after when he had woken up from his drunkenness, he might even say, how dare you? Shebi, I'm your husband. I'm big enough to defend myself. Like her defending him, making him look weak. But is that the case? You still go ahead and defend the fool if you married one. So, what does emotional intelligence look like in marriage today? And how do we advocate wisely? Or should we just stick with the first parts? What does emotional intelligence look like in marriage today?
Okay, I think the first thing, like I always like to do, is to understand what is emotional intelligence. And briefly, it's just the ability to manage your own emotions and understand the emotions of those around you. So I need to know, how is my emotion? How can I manage it? And of course, to manage your emotions or my emotions, we need to be self-aware, and know that maybe sometimes this thing gets me angry, this thing gets me upset, and then you need to also know how to self-regulate. How do you just react? Do I just react because I'm upset, I'm angry, and then lash out and all those kind of things? So, so when it comes to marriage now, is understand that you have emotions as a wife, and also your spouse has emotions as well. So now you have to, how can you manage it together? How can you know when to be angry and when not to be angry? What are the impact, or what is the impact of my emotions? This is how I feel. What is the impact on? Because sometimes our emotions, if you don't know how to regulate the emotions, then we begin to lash out. We don't know when to stop. We don't know when to keep quiet. Because sometimes it's just the words. Words are very powerful. And I think we say that the words like they're like eggs. By the time we spilt it out, we will know it's broken. Then to bring it together again, it's very difficult to bring the yolk and the albumin and everything together and put it back in the shell. It's very difficult. It's broken. And as I'm speaking now, I'm not saying that I'm the perfect one, that I've never, spoken like I should not have spoken. Well, I've asked for forgiveness, and we should always do that. That's where working with God comes in, because we have the Holy Spirit that helps us to know, what, I think you've actually overstepped your boundaries now. So go and make amends, okay? But where I'm going is that it's for us now in marriages that we just need to know that we need to know when to speak, when to be silent. We need to know when to withdraw. There's a time for everything under the sun. The person may be talking and talking and talking and talking. Maybe it's time for me to just listen. And then so I can know the right response. So instead of reacting, let's even go back to Esther or even Abigail. Instead of reacting, let me act. I always say that. Let me act, because when I'm acting, then I'm taking cognizance of I'm being objective now. Okay, let's talk about this. This is the situation. This is what happened. This is what we should do. Instead of going around in circles. If you don't apply emotional intelligence, we go around in circles, and then we'll not resolve anything. And nobody is good, because the other person wants to win. I also want to win. So we're in that emotional battle, either openly or covertly. That is passive aggressive behaviors. Yeah. Coming into that. Okay, I will stop. Actions speak louder than voice. Yeah. So there are a few points that we can also bring into practicals before we round this up. So EQ, or emotional intelligence, or whatever we call it, is understanding how your spouse processes their feelings. If you don't know that, then you totally don't know the person. Whether they raise their eyebrow or they roll their eyes or they shout or they lash out, whether they talk things out or they need time. If you're having arguments, someone will say, okay, let's calm down. When we calm down, we talk about it. The other person is, no, we will talk now. It's now. Now or never. So, you're two poles apart. If you don't know how they react, how are you going to deal with that? So, being intelligent, knowing how they're processing their hurts or the conflict, the change in their tone, their body language, or when they're silent or they're withdrawn. Oh, I'm the silent queen. I can keep silent, but if you let me. I'm like, oh, just leave me alone. So when I keep quiet, that's it. I shut down. Whereas we don't want it to shut down. Whereas someone else, their voice alone will bring the house down, and the entire neighborhood will know. So someone is angry. So another example, managing conflict with grace. Yes. Being gracious in how we manage, because we are working together, not against each other. Example will be when you disagree with someone, you say, I disagree with you, but I still honor you. Yeah. Okay. So you are addressing the issue without attacking the character of the person. You are avoiding score points. 1 point to Everton, 2 to Liverpool. Okay. It's my football man.
Okay, so avoid scoring points, scorekeeping, shaming, or sarcasm.
Yeah.
It's not an attack. It's a disagreement, difference of opinion, and managing it with grace. And expressing what you need without blaming the other person. Like, you never listen to me. Why don't you say or try, say, I feel unheard sometimes. And I need to know that you're with me.
Yes. Yeah.
Like my sister is saying, yes, yeah. But she's looking in my eyes. I know that you're hearing me because you're seeing me.
Yes.
But if you're saying, yes,
you're looking at me,
as you're remote control and changing Chinese. Seems like we're ganging up in football now, but we're not. But it's the reality when two people live together, it's bound to be clash. If you don't have clash in your marriage, it's not real. Let's keep it real. I was wrong. I hurt you. I'm sorry.
Just understanding.
You can say that rather than say, I'm sorry if you feel hurt. Are you doubting that I'm hurt? If you feel hurt,
that means you are not acknowledging that person's emotions. That's why we said if you are intelligent emotionally, you have to acknowledge because you are not them. So you don't know what they are feeling.
I mean, If like that, we say in medical, when a patient says they're in pain, you don't say no, you're not in pain. It's unethical. How can you say that? You're in their body. If I say I'm hurt, I mean, even if you don't hurt me, so I'm sorry.
Yes. Empathy is important.
I hurt you. I'm so sorry because the other person is saying you've hurt them. I'm sorry I hurt you, rather than saying I'm sorry if you felt hurt. I mean, like, who's going to walk away from that fight when someone doesn't acknowledge that you're hurt? Okay, so emotional intelligence, we repair, rather than defend. What is broken, what is hurt, you soothe the other person rather than making them feel worse. So, and this goes both ways. It could be whichever spouse in that relationship. It could be the husband, it could be the wife, today or tomorrow, and vice versa. So let's offer comforts, even before it's been asked for. Being considerate, being kind.
Yes.
That's my number one
Empathy.
thing. Oh gosh. See, if somebody asks me to define love, I have one word for love: kindness. If you're not kind to me, please don't tell me I love your love, because you don't. If you're kind to your spouse, you will offer them comfort before they ask. If one person is burdened down with the responsibility of your marriage or your relationship, of your home, of running it, and the other person is just sitting down, shaking their legs and reading their paper or watching their Netflix or whatever it is that they watch, that they feel they're doing, but the other person is going up and down, not sitting down, catching a breather. Where is the love in them? Yeah. So let's celebrate each other's wins.
Important,
like your own. That's sharing it again. You share the purpose, you share the vision, you share the wins, and you celebrate together. And being gracious through it all. And above all, your partner should feel safe to be vulnerable with you, especially in their weakness, in their failure, in their fear. When they feel afraid, your emotional intelligence builds a home where both the two hearts can but how do you do the hearts? Are we? No, I'm not sure if I'm doing it. Oh gosh. I get it. Like this. Oh, this is an oddly shaped art. This art is something else. Yeah, someone is going to do it and show me later on this video. Yeah, I got that in the end. You should build a home where both hearts can rest, find rest.
Yes, that's important, yes.
You know, on a hot summer day, you come in, you dive in, and get some cold water to quench your thirst. And you take a deep sigh and you're content.
Yes.
Home advantage.
Yes.
That's what your home should give you. So, as we come to the end of our discussion today, I must say I've thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Oh, excellent. Same
You
here.
know, and I know we've got more to cover. There are other women in the Bible, as we said.
Yeah.
We've just selected a few, well, 3 to be precise today. Yeah. We're going to revisit this in part 2, part 3, maybe. We might even talk on emotional intelligence.
Yes,
all on its own.
yes.
You know, another time. So here we are. Drop us a line if you have a favorite woman of the Bible that you want to emulate, or a living legend. Could be your mommy, your auntie, your sister who is married. You know, yeah. It could be an influencer, someone that you know and you like the way they are wifing. You know. So tell us, share it with us. We want to learn too. I want to be the ideal wife.
Because we keep learning.
That's
we
it.
Don't stop learning.
That's it. So today reminded us that the ideal wife isn't a formula. It's a reflection of character, of faith, of timing, of loyalty, of grace. Ruth's loyalty, Esther's courage, Abigail's discernment, and a host of other women in the Bible. Each of them speaks to a different kind of strength, a different kind of woman. And we can blend these characters together to put an ideal woman, an ideal wife together. Don't forget, we're not saying a perfect wife. Okay. And as African women in the diaspora, we're often told what we should be. But today, we've seen that who we are, rooted in purpose and faith, is more than enough. Because one with God is with majority. And thank you for joining us on Bao today. Please feel free to share this episode with a sister who is navigating womanhood, faith, and marriage in our own way. And until next time, keep becoming, keep serving purpose.
Yes.
We keep cheering you on as the ideal wife.
Thank you.
On behalf of my sister and myself, we say thank you and goodbye. Ciao. Goodbye. Okay, so can we stop this thing?
Yes,
can you stop it?
Stop
You
this.
stop it. Yeah. There we go.